Than anybody in the office. Oh.
Everything ready? Okay, I will call this meeting to order and welcome to the public. This is this Tuesday, September 15th, 2020, Todd County Board of Commissioners. And on the phone, we will have Jeremy Klausman and Chris McCon from Solid Waste and the media. And in person, we have Great River Regional Library Executive Director Karen Punsek and Adam Ossifort for Planning and Zoning. Jackie Ock from Health and Human Services, Steve Ock, Sheriff, Rick Utic, Economic Development, Chris Odden, Assessor, Sarah Ogren, Human Resources, Denise Gaida, Auditor Treasurer, Jolene Sabrowski, Chief Deputy Auditor Treasurer, and Chris Pelzer, Coordinator. Welcome to the public on the visiting us and viewing us online, and please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I do like that better. Thank you, Chris. All right. I think I stated all commissioners are present. Did I not? If I didn't, pardon me. So is there any additions or corrections to the agenda? Auditor Treasurer? Okay. Commissioners?
I'll approve the agenda.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Kanizo. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Erickson. Discussion? If not, all's in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Potential consent items.
We have meeting minute approval for September 1st, 2020, termination of employee 786, resignation OSSI, retirement health educator, and Greystone Golf Course seasonal liquor license.
Okay, you've heard the consent items. Is there a motion?
So move.
Motion by Commissioner Becker. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Newman. Discussion?
I would like to make sure to thank Connie for her years of service and also working for us with CAD up in the Staples area.
Okay, good. Anything else? Not, all's in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried, thank you. Auditor Treasurer?
The first item I have today is the auditor warrants, background and salary review. Recommendation is to approve the August 2020 auditor warrants with an ACH and a regular manual payment totaling in the amount of $557,513.57. Oh, excuse me. There's a total amount on the bottom, $1,148,147.21.
Okay. You've heard the board action. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Erickson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Newman. Discussion? If not, roll call, please.
Commissioner Erickson?
Yes.
Commissioner Newman?
Yes.
Commissioner Kneisel?
Yes.
Commissioner Becker?
Yes.
Commissioner Kircher?
Yes.
Next item is the commissioner warrants, background is sent for review. Recommendation is that the County Board of Commissioners approve the ACH commissioners warrants in ACH and a regular manual payment totaling in the amount of $64,482.08.
Okay, you've heard the board action. Is there a motion?
So move.
Motion by Commissioner Becker. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Kneisel. Is there any discussion? If not, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Becker?
Yes.
Commissioner Kneisel?
Yes.
Commissioner Newman?
Yes.
Commissioner Erickson?
Yes.
Commissioner Kircher?
Yes.
The next item is the Health and Human Service Commissioner warrants, background is sent for review. Recommendation is to approve the Health and Human Service Commissioner warrants with an ACH and a regular manual totaling in the amount of $73,325.38.
Okay, you've heard the board action. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Newman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Erickson. Discussion? If not, roll call, please.
Commissioner Newman?
Yes.
Commissioner Erickson?
Yes.
Commissioner Kneisel?
Yes.
Commissioner Becker?
Yes.
Commissioner Kircher?
Yes.
Next item I have is the Health and Human Service SSIS warrants. Background is sent for review. Recommendation is to approve the Health and Human Service SSIS warrants with an ACH and a regular manual totaling in the amount of $51,801.40.
Okay, you've heard the board action. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Kneisel. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Becker. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Kircher? Commissioner Kneisel?
Yes.
Commissioner Becker?
Yes.
Commissioner Newman?
Yes.
Commissioner Erickson?
Yes.
Commissioner Kircher?
Yes.
Next item we have is the county fee schedule hearing date. Background is the Todd County is in the process of building a complete county fee schedule to be implemented for 2021 and is required by law to hold a public hearing to gather any public input on the proposed fees before adoption. Our recommendation is to set the county fee schedule public hearing for October 20th, 2020 to begin at 9:15 in the County Commissioners Boardroom and instruct all appropriate legal notices be generated and published accordingly.
Okay, you've heard the board action. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Kneisel. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Becker. Discussion?
That's during our regular meeting?
Right, we'll
The
open them.
9:15 works that we can, is there so long that it has to take place?
No, we just have to open it, do an open comment, wait if we have anything or not.
I'm
and then move on.
assuming we would take the comments via the public through the viewing, that they could type in comments or something?
Mr. Chair, what we've been doing so far for our public comment is having them submit them through email.
Right.
Okay,
And that would be one way that we could do it, or if we actually had people that wanted to be present, we could do a scheduling and just have them come in individually.
okay. One thing I would like you to do, either through the auditor treasurer or through the coordinator, is please notify all department heads that this will take place, because in the past, we've had department heads say, oh, I missed that, or I didn't know I had to do that, or whatever else.
We've been in
So-
contact with them already. We've been
Okay.
working with Kathy Langer and
Okay.
Chris McCann. and-
Because it seems to be a little confusion on that, so, okay, thank you.
Mhm.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Carried, thank you.
Next item I have is the county ditch maintenance assessments for taxes payable 2021. The auditor treasurers, along with the county ditch inspector, have been proactively working on improving the cash flow balances within Fund 40 county ditches on a yearly basis and presented assessment recommendations at the county board work session on September 1st, 2020. Attached are the maintenance funds assessments recommended for collection during 2021 tax payable year. The options are to approve the list or do not approve the list of assessments. Our recommendation is that the Todd County Ditch Authority approves the attached resolution for county ditch maintenance assessments for taxes payable in 2021.
Okay, you've heard the board action, and there's a resolution, you said? So
Yes.
is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Newman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Kneisel. Discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried, thank you.
Next item I have is cancellation of mobile home taxes. Todd County Auditor Treasurers have conducted extensive research on the attached list of personal property mobile homes and deemed these parcels uncollectible. The Todd County Auditor Treasurer recommends proceeding with the cancellation of taxes on the list attached per Minnesota Statute 277.24. Your recommendations are either to approve the attached resolution or do not approve the attached resolution. The recommendation is to approve the attached resolution authorizing the cancellation of mobile home taxes of the attached parcel listing.
So for clarification, we are canceling the delinquent?
These are people that, yes, are past due, and it shows the years that they're delinquent. It shows also revenue recapture, if we've gone through that avenue, and if they've paid anything or been able to collect anything, and we have not. We've reached out many different avenues. We work with the assessor's office, we work with the county attorney's office, and to no avail. These people are not paying their personal property taxes on their mobile homes.
Do we want to have discussion before we move on this, commissioners? I guess my question is, so what happens from this point on with these people?
Well, the mobile home taxes get wiped out, and I don't know what happens in the assessment world, if they're
Chris-
still out there.
Is Chris
or
out there? Can he?
If they're living there, that was my question. If they're still living there, why would they get homestead and,
I couldn't hear anything out there.
Well, what we're talking about, Chris, or what I'm asking is, now we're gonna, cancel these delinquent taxes. What happens from this day forward with these people?
I looked at these when I saw it on the board agenda, and I believe all, with the exception of one, are still physically located on the parcels. So as the assessor, I'm gonna keep putting value on them. So they'll keep generating a tax in the future because they still exist.
And we,
Have they been paying taxes since 2014 or?
I didn't look, but I mean, Denise's statement here says they haven't been.
so which one is still living on the premises?
Dan and Linda Owen still live there. I believe the only one that's not physically there anymore is the Travis Wolf one at the bottom.
And has the mobile home been removed?
No, the mobile home still exists in every case but the bottom one. So we can take the taxes off, but because it's still there, I still have to assess it. So we're just gonna keep on doing it. We're gonna keep on adding it to the assessment rolls, and if the pattern continues, then in
Then
6
I come
years,
back
it'll
and-
come back and she'll wipe them off again.
Are they living in the trailer, or is the trailer just there, the unlivable?
In some cases, they are living there. In some cases, it's homestead. In some cases, it's veteran homestead. Some have passed away, and some we don't know who's there or if it is unlivable. But the statute states that if it exists with value. Even if that value is $100, it'll generate a tax.
And in the past, as was my experience, the sheriff served them delinquent tax papers, am I correct, or did they discontinue?
That on personal property as
Yeah,
well. I know
yes.
it is on real estate.
But not on personal,
only,
not personal
Not
property
home.
anymore? Because we used to serve these mobile home.
unless it was a mobile home on real estate? You know, you probably were physically going to a mobile home, but was it classified a real estate mobile home or a personal property? That's the problem?
Personal property,
It
so,
was, okay.
so we were serving them. I know, you don't do that anymore, Steve, serve? Okay. Well, the paper would be generated from you two,
Right.
so,
Well, from our office,
Yeah.
and we don't generate for mobile home.
A possible solution to this problem would be to get a clearance sheet and have the owner of the real estate assume responsibility of the mobile home. They would have to volunteer that, and I know in the case of the second one, he has passed away, and the owners of the real estate want nothing to do with the mobile home that's sitting there. So as of our record, the last one we have is that Michael, and so we know he owned it. It hasn't been probated. It probably never will be probated. And the owner of the land doesn't want to assume taxing responsibility of the mobile home, so he's not gonna sign off that it's his. Obviously, that's just one scenario. Like the Dan and Linda Owen, they live there. This isn't a case like real estate where we can just take it. In real estate, it's tax delinquent, we take ownership, we sell it. Personal property is not that way.
well, I just think it's a catch-22, because why pay them then? Because anybody that has them, why pay the taxes?
Exactly what my question was in the process of doing this.
Have we tried to do any revenue recapture?
Yeah, it says that on there. Revenue recapture, Dan and Linda, they're signed up for it, but we get nothing from revenue recapture from them. And the little bit, if we would have gotten any, doesn't pay the tax. A lot of times you can be signed up for revenue recapture and you don't get anything.
Now, it's my understanding, I thought I read this, that if they got COVID money, that would be recaptured.
It possibly could, who knows, we probably won't see that 2 years down the road, it's hard to say what the state's gonna do with that.
I don't have that answer.
Yeah, I don't either. I mean, we just get the money from revenue recapture and there's no rhyme or reason to it. It's just whenever they
Get their hands.
recapture some of their money through, maybe they worked a couple months out of 1 year, and they can pull some income tax off of whatever they were supposed to be paying in. Yeah, you're exactly right, though, Commissioner Kircher, it is a catch-22. It's like, why, if you're living there, why pay them? Because you're just gonna,
I guess I wouldn't, if you guys ain't gonna do nothing about it, why would
Well,
I pay 'em?
and from an assessor's standpoint, it's not a matter of being profitable, it's a matter of being factual. Do these mobile homes exist? Yes. Do they have value? Yes. So we estimate the value, we assess it to the last owner on record, and we classify it according to how they use it. From there, it's a matter of tax statements and hoping they send a check. And in this case, our only manner to get those funds, if they don't volunteer those funds, would be revenue recapture.
and for that, we have to have social security numbers, and so all of them, I was gonna say 9 times out of 10, but all of these, all we do is we calculate the tax, we send the tax out, the tax statements come back. And then we do our due diligence of manpower, tracking down a new address, tracking down where they're at. And like I said, then we even work with the county attorney's office on, revenue recapture and how can we go about getting these funds, and we get nothing. And then the next year comes and we send the next tax statement out and we go through that whole process again. We do Google searches, we contact, like if they would happen to be, these aren't this year, but sometimes if they're out in Fawn Lake, we'll contact the association out there to see if they have any insight of, we work with Chris, finding out what he knows about the mobile home.
Okay, what's the wishes of the board?
And you don't have to do anything with it, we can just table it and do more research if that's what you so choose to do, but, we've exhausted all our avenues, but, we can.
Well, to me, it's not fair to
Somebody has to make that up.
the regular taxpayer, yeah, Randy's right, somebody has to make it up because it's on the tax roll, so I don't think it's fair to forgive them unless,
It just like that statement on the bottom just says it's
Yeah.
reached its statute of limitation of 6 years and it leaves a liability on the county books, but, and that's your board decision to decide.
So, Mr. Chair, I got a question on that fourth one down. If that is located at Saconac Campground, would they be responsible for collecting the taxes on that? See, and I got a question with Head Lakes because I don't know if Bonnie and Mel collect theirs.
I don't know that either.
I don't.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Newman, in situations like that, a park model or anything that isn't licensed, meaning a license sticker on the license plate,
Right?
we get the owner name from the owner of the campground
Okay.
and their address, and we create a personal property tax record for them. Personal property simply means it's a building or a structure with no land attached to it. It's beneficial for the Saconacs and the head of the lakes to give us that information. Otherwise, we automatically assume it belongs to the owner and they pay taxes on it. So in this case, we know that it's in Saconac. We most likely know the lot number, and we know that Saconac told us that Jan owned it. After that, we have Jan's address, we give that information to Denise, the tax statement's created, but it never falls back on Saconac. We don't have any, they don't have any liability for the taxes.
But they're collecting rent.
They're collecting rent. Additionally, before a mobile home or a park model can be moved, we need a clearance sheet. So in a situation where these come into the county, we know what the owner's name is. And our new clearance sheets do have social security numbers on them. So before they can get approval, we have their social security number. So we have that avenue to recapture the revenue if they choose not to pay.
Well, you said they're supposed to have them paid before they can move them, but,
They-
or,
They need to be paid, I assume, from where they started from, but when they come into the county, it's day one, no tax yet.
yeah.
But
Well,
we
I
need
think
that
a lot
social
of-
security
There's a
number.
lot of midnight moving with them.
They're very difficult to track.
Okay, I guess we've hashed this through. Board members, what's your wishes?
Well, I don't think it's gonna do any good, and not to create more work for you, but I mean, it's not gonna do any good to take them off, because they're just gonna come right back on. You might as well just keep pursuing it and try. That's just an opinion.
So you're saying we should just leave them, Rod?
Well, that's what I'm suggesting.
Anybody else?
I agree with Rod.
Okay, somebody want to make a motion?
Do we need a motion for this, or was the, oh, we had a,
Well, your motion will be changing. Your motion will be back up here. You'll be saying number 2, do not approve.
do not approve the tax resolution, so, yep. I would make a motion to that standard.
Okay, for number 1.
Number 2.
No, I'm sorry, 2.
Number 2.
Okay, sorry.
I'll second.
And motion by Commissioner Erickson to not approve this, and second by Commissioner Kanizel. Any more discussion? If not, all's in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried, thank you.
Thank you. The next item I have then is the 2021 preliminary levy. The background is the Finance Committee worked diligently with all county departments to prepare a preliminary budget levy recommendation to the county board. At the August 4th, 2020 work session, the Finance Committee presented a proposal for the 2021 preliminary budget levy. The 2021 preliminary budget levy has been updated per the county board approval of insurance agreement with the Sourcewell that was approved on 8/4/2020. Your options are to approve the 2021 preliminary levy as recommended by the Finance Committee with a local levy at $16,965,249 at a 4.4 increase, or do not approve. Recommendations is to approve the tax resolution to set the preliminary levy for 2021 at this is for the levy now, $18,581,820 less the program aids, therefore certifying the preliminary local levy at $16,965,249, which results in that 4.4 increase.
Just a statement from, well, Barb and I, is that the preliminary is set high. We are going to work on reducing that to our final levy when we set, is that in December?
December.
So the Finance Committee will be working yet through the next couple months to try and get this down lower, so. Is there a motion?
So move.
Motion by Commissioner Becker, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Newman, discussion?
Yes.
Oh,
Oh.
that's me, unless, did you say it too, Randy? Oh, sorry.
Randy
Randy said it at the exact
Oh,
same
okay, I'm
time.
sorry, I didn't hear that. We got these
I didn't
things,
want you to
you
put-
gotta go like
Yeah,
this,
I
Rob.
didn't want you to push it on him if it was me, that's all.
I heard Randy, I didn't hear
That's
you.
fine.
So.
Nope, that's good.
Barb, did you have something?
Yes, I just want to make a comment that the elected official salaries are listed, but they are not binding to what is in that, the levy that was set as of now. The elected officials have to come in front of the board before we can set their salaries.
Right. Okay, any more discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I just want to thank the Chair, Vice Chair, and Financial Committee for their hard work on getting this done. So,
Yep.
thank you.
We still have a lot of scratching to do yet, so.
Yeah.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Hi.
Opposed? Carried, thank you.
Okay, my last one. TNT, the Truth and Taxation Date Establishment. Minnesota statute requires Todd County hold a truth and taxation hearing to receive public input regarding the proposed 2020 preliminary levy. I think that's supposed to be 2021. Before adoption in December of 2020. The recommendations are, or options are, that we have chosen as Tuesday, November 24th as a meeting night, or option 2, December 1st as a meeting night. I did check, AMC is running 7th, 8th, and 9th of December in Minneapolis. That's the following week, so either one of those dates work. if the board so recommends.
They're still having their conference in
Listed on the MC website and on one of the webinars.
person.
It is, at the Hyatt Minneapolis.
That's about 500 and some people, so,
And
I know.
Mr. Chair, I'm guessing it might go virtual.
yeah.
Yeah, I am too, but it was
That'd be an
listed.
interesting virtual meeting,
Interesting, yeah.
as the rest of ours has been.
Mhm.
Okay, so commissioners, what would you like? Do we have board meetings on those dates?
Yeah, those are board meeting dates,
And what time, 6 PM?
6.
How would this be conducted virtually with, because this is with regard to our budget, right? So how would,
Well, we can do appointments if somebody wanted an appointment to come in here, otherwise they're just going to have to live stream and email us. I don't know, this is all new world, so.
Mr. Chair, we could do it how we did the earlier meeting with the assessor, where we did do the by appointment only, and we had 10, 11 people, so we could do that.
okay. And when we advertise this, I hope we could advertise that people could send in written comments, so we have that, huh? On,
And Mr. Chair, that is how we have been doing all of the board
Yeah.
meetings, yep.
oh. Okay. Commissioners, what day would you like?
The Tuesday before Thanksgiving or the first Tuesday in December?
If it's the Tuesday before Thanksgiving, I will not be here.
Option 2, Mr. Chair?
That is following our first board meeting in December, right?
Oh, well, it's not following a board meeting,
Oh.
December 1st is not.
It's at
Tuesday.
6 PM.
Go to 6 PM.
No, but I mean, it's the same day. Yeah, yeah, I'm sorry, yep.
I just
Okay,
meant it's evening, yes, but it is a board
Yeah.
day.
okay, is that okay with everybody?
I'll move that.
December 1st, Randy moves, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Erickson, is there any more discussion?
You
John
got
Becker?
a voice changer, buddy.
What?
That was Barb.
It's Barb Becker. You said Erickson.
I thought I heard Randy say okay, so that's what I was going by. Okay, speak into your mics, guys. No. Okay, Commissioner Becker, I'm sorry.
We're gonna have little red flags.
Is there a second?
That was her.
What's your second?
The second.
Who made the motion?
I did.
No wonder I'm confused. Okay, I'll get back on my meds here shortly, guys, so. Anyway. Any more discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
I think
I'll
the
get back on
dream
track here.
happening.
It's these shields that are bothering me.
I believe that.
All right, Great River Regional Library, Karen. Morning.
Good morning. Nice to see you all in person. Don't get to go a lot of places in person, so I was kind of excited to come. So thanks for some time this morning. I'm the Executive Director for Great River Regional Library, and we typically come out and do the budget presentation to just give you guys a picture of what's coming. I did give you all a handout that shows a real short summary of what we're projecting for the Todd County portion of the budget, which was passed by the Great River Board in July. The board last year decided to start using some of the surplus funds from 2019 for the 2021 budget. So we immediately at the end of last year knew we were going to use some cash reserves, but it was from surplus funds from 2021. And then prior to COVID, we had been looking at our reserve levels at the library system and had decided to start spending those down because we've been seeing surpluses for several years in a row. So we've included $350,000 total in our surplus funds for the revenue budget, which brought all county shares down. And you can see Todd County's share has dropped by almost a little over 0.75% for 2021. We anticipate we'll be repeating that exercise going forward. We have over 7 months of reserves right now, and our goal is to get it down closer to 5.5 to 6 months. So that's going to take several years to kind of work its way through, which should help for future budgets. We recognize that 2021, 2022, 2023 are likely to be challenges across the board for all of our counties and cities. So we're also holding positions open at Great River at this point. In the current environment, it's kind of hard to tell what it's going to be like when we hire some of our positions. We've been working hard to get libraries back open. At this point, all libraries are open to the public. They look a little different in each community depending on that community's needs, but we are staffing to be open the open hours that we're currently, our normal schedule would be. So at this moment, we have about 30 open positions at the library system, which is, some of it is substitute employees, but some of it is like our accounting has a full-time position open, our HR department has a full-time position open. We're really focusing on what does the next 5 years look like in terms of what we need for staff. So know that we are continuing to work and think ahead to what those future budgets will look like. If you have questions about that, I'll be happy to talk about it, but I did want to also share just some of the efforts we've taken over the last 6 months to offer the services to the public as best we could. As you know, we all got shut down in March. It was right after I had been here, and it was a pretty quick change at the library system. The Department of Education is the state agency we kind of report to, and the Commissioner of Education recommended in the early distance learning guidance that libraries offer curbside services if possible. So we started working with our individual cities to see if they were open to us doing curbside in their locations. A lot of our buildings are in shared facilities with city halls or community centers, so we couldn't just open to the public without working with those local entities as well. By the beginning of May, we had curbside up and running in all locations, which was a pretty heavy lift. It's kind of flipping our normal service model on its head and just offering it. And I've heard really great remarks from educators on making that happen. By early June, we had offered computer appointments at all locations as well. So we were kind of easing into those services. And now through August, we have all locations offering what are called grab and go services. So you can come into the library, you can pick up a book, you can use a computer, you can potentially use the Wi-Fi in some locations. We're doing some reservations on tables and study rooms if the facility will allow it. But we are limited in some locations by capacity levels. A lot of our buildings are fairly small, especially out in this direction, so we can't have more than maybe 14 people in a building, including staff. So that's a bit of a challenge for us. Some of the other services we launched in the midst of the closure was our hotline service, which is an 800 number, and it was fully staffed during business hours. And that hotline, when you call the 800 number, a staff member from Swanville or St. Cloud or Long Prairie might answer, and we could answer the questions that were coming in even if the library wasn't open. That's a service we plan to continue. The number of calls have kind of died down a little bit now that more libraries are open, more hours. But at the height of it, we were seeing a significant number of calls coming in. Another project we expanded was our Wi-Fi to Go project. If you recall prior years, I had talked about our fundraising efforts and how we had a pilot project circulating Wi-Fi hotspots and peers. Well, the state gave us additional dollars to expand Wi-Fi access in our areas. So one of the efforts we did was start circulating more Wi-Fi hotspots at more locations. I believe all Todd County locations will have circulating Wi-Fi hotspots as we get them rolled out. Some of them were back ordered and it's taken a little longer to get them actually out in circulation. But that initial grant was really targeting those communities that had lack of broadband access. So you'll be able to check out a Wi-Fi hotspot for a week and then return it and check it out again. We're really excited about that project. And then we also worked with some locations like Staples to expand the Wi-Fi in the building outside of the building. So the parking lot or whatever that facility surrounding area is, to intentionally broadcast that signal 24/7 outside the building. And again, we had to work with the cities that were impacted by it to make sure they were comfortable having a 24/7 hotspot outside the building, because that can create some security issues. So we've been really fortunate to be able to do that in about a half a dozen locations across the region. We also expanded our digital access on our ebook platform and offered streaming services through Hoopla. So now you can stream a movie from home if you want to. The ebook circulation, the last time I checked, is up about 17% over last year. So, the dollars that were invested in the collection digitally are definitely being used. And I think at one point, over half of our e-audiobook was checked out at any given point in time. So the public has responded very positively to the work that we've been doing. And I just want to thank Todd County for being a great partner. Through this whole thing, we've been working with 39 different entities between the cities and counties, and the Todd County communities have been really great to work with and talk about what makes sense in their locations. So thanks for your support of library services, and we're glad to be a partner in that.
Questions? Well, it's always good news to get a reduction in some budgets. so
Right,
it's-
yeah, we're doing the best we can. Fines revenue's down, interest's
Yeah.
going in the tank. Who knows what next year's gonna bring, but.
I might add that during the finance committee is made up of all the commissioners, I believe, on the board. And so they, Benton County, Morrison, and us are the three counties that have struggled with the budget increasing. And so this year, the board decided to use some of the reserve money, as Karen said, so it kind of helped us out. So it helped all the small counties, really, so.
Right, I think everyone was glad to see it.
Right, so, okay, anything else? Thank you.
Thank you. It's nice to see you all.
Yep. Okay, planning and zoning, is Adam here? Morning.
Morning.
Okay, the first topic today is the adoption of the Leaf, Wing, and Red Eye Comprehensive Watershed Management Plan. The Leaf, Wing, and Red Eye Comprehensive Watershed Management Plan was completed through the One Watershed, One Plan process. The plan has been through the comment period and has been approved by Bowser, and the final step is for each participating LGU to adopt the plan. So the options are a motion to approve the resolution to adopt the Comprehensive Watershed Management Plan or deny the resolution. The recommendation at this time is approval of the resolution and therefore adopting the Leaf, Wing, and Red Eye Comprehensive Watershed Management Plan.
Okay, you've heard the board action, is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Kneisel, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Becker. Discussion.
Yes, Mr. Chair, how many pages was this plan?
I looked at that this morning because I knew you'd ask. The plan content from the cover page to the end of the content was 166 pages.
Okay.
And then with all the, signatures and stuff, I think it was 180 total in that draft document.
Now, these are two of the smaller watersheds.
Yeah, I believe so. I'm not super knowledgeable on the watersheds and everything yet, but a little bit smaller. It went through the review process and it went, to the regional Bowser board and then to the state Bowser board. And they got really high remarks on how the plan was put together, and they thought it was one of the best ones they've seen up to this point. And we always thought we would try to get Mariah, or she works for Houston Engineering now, to do the Long Prairie River, and we're hoping that that's the case, and she's the one that wrote this plan also.
Okay.
So, Mr. Chair, the same outfit is doing the plan for the Long Prairie as the Red Eye?
Yeah, we're hoping to have Mariah, who's with Houston Engineering, and then Tad, I think, is with Region 5. He did kind of facilitation and note-taking and stuff.
They went through Region 5 to have the plan?
Yep, they went through Region 5, and then through that process, I think Mariah was grabbed from them and hired by Houston Engineering to write plans. So that's how it developed into
Got it.
that.
Okay, thank
Yep.
you.
Okay. Anything else? All in favor, say aye.
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 Carried, thank you. Next.
The Kobliska Brothers Preliminary Plat. Subdivision request to establish a preliminary plat on parcel 2200100000 containing one lot was approved by the Planning Commission on September 3, 2020. The final recommendation from the Planning Commission was to grant the preliminary plat with no conditions. The options are move to approve the request for preliminary platting, deny the request for preliminary platting, or remand back to the Planning Commission for further consideration. The recommendation is to approve the establishment of preliminary plat on parcel 2200100000 with no conditions.
Okay, you heard the request. Is there a motion?
So move.
Motion by Commissioner Becker. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Erickson. Discussion? Not, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Carried. Next.
Okay, the Ilias Estates preliminary plat. Subdivision request to establish preliminary plat on parcel 1400247000 containing two lots was approved by the Planning Commission on September 3, 2020. Final recommendation from the Planning Commission was to grant the preliminary plat with one condition. That one condition would be no further subdivision of the approved plat. The options are to move to approve the request for preliminary platting, deny the request for preliminary platting, or remand back to the Planning Commission for further consideration. I think on this one I did have a recommendation to approve, but after some conversation, after the Planning Commission meeting with our land use attorney and some questions that came up during the Planning Commission meeting, my recommendation would be to remand back to the Planning Commission at this time and grant a 60-day extension for the application. The reason being is there was lots of questions around the lot width at the lakefront. It doesn't meet our ordinance requirements, so they need to go through the variance process. Our definition for lot width and shoreline zoning is very confusing, and working with our land use attorney, we kind of have it figured out what it's intending to say, and they're not meeting that requirement. I talked with Renee Ilias yesterday, and she's on board and understands, and so I told her we'd do the 60-day extension. They're gonna sign it again, because by the time this would come back before you guys, it would actually be beyond the 120-day, which is the original 60 days plus this one here. We would be looking at 123 days. So I think we're gonna extend this out with them signing on to January 1st to allow the variance process, bring it back to the Planning Commission for them to review it again, and then it'd be back before you guys. So that's the reason for the change in recommendation.
Okay. Wishes of the board?
I'll make that motion to move it back to the Planning Commission. and-
Number 3.
Yep.
Commissioner Newman makes that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Erickson. Discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I had a phone call from the chair of the Planning Commission on this, and my recommendation to him was to go to Jason down at Iverson Reavers and get his opinion on this. So that's where it's at.
And that's the reason it came back around. My interpretation was clearly wrong, and I'm glad I had a conversation with Jason about that. So that's why we automatically have the ability, with your guys' blessing, to do the 60-day extension, which is why that should be part of this motion here. And then we'll have her sign that extra one to make sure that we don't run into any deadlines for granting of applications.
So the Planning Commission actually granted it, but there were some issues they weren't aware of?
Yes.
Okay.
And we had to, I mean, they're a recommending board, and right now, today is the 60-day deadline. So we had to do something with it.
Okay.
So that's how it came here. So this, I think, is the best path forward, and I worked with Jason to figure out how we make this work.
Okay. Any more discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Carried.
That's it for now.
Thanks, Adam.
Mr. Chair, I have a board action this morning to approve a broadband letter of support for SciTech Communications. We did receive a request from SciTech to provide a letter of support for them. They are applying for a grant through the state of Minnesota to provide broadband services for a portion of Morrison County and a small portion of Todd County. And Denise, I'm not sure if you have that map. That is, I think it's, yep, I think, keep going, there we go. Yep, so this is SciTech's project. It's a pretty small sliver that would be within Todd County, but again, this is an underserved area, so it would be good to have broadband expanded. So the background for this is Todd County is underserved in the area of broadband options for residents in rural locations. State of Minnesota grant funding exists to assist in costs associated with providing broadband services in underserved areas. SciTech Communications has requested support for gaining funds to assist in providing broadband in a portion of Todd County. The option is to approve the letter of support for SciTech Communications grant application or to not approve, and the recommendation is to approve.
It's 3 miles from my house.
And you don't get it.
I don't get it.
You don't, sorry.
How should I vote?
I think this might be in my area, so I'm hoping it's a vote for yes.
Yeah, I think it does go through by your place. All right, what's the wishes of the board? I guess it's a start.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Kneisel to approve the letter of support. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Becker. Discussion? How did they come up with this? Where do they draw the line? How do they do that, or what?
I'm not sure. I did not reach out to them to ask how they put that together.
Yeah.
I can
was
ask
just
and follow
curious
up with them.
because, it kind of it just makes kind of goofy.
They wanted to skip you.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yep, I can follow up with them and find out what their future plans are also.
It doesn't include the city of Bertram at all then, right?
No,
Okay. I think they're laying by Swanville already. I've seen them working there.
they are. Mhm.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Solid Waste, are they on the phone?
Yes.
Jeremy or Chris?
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Right.
Good morning.
We have, the first one here is waste designation. As you may recall, we've been in about a 5-year process of creating a waste designation ordinance. And the MPCA has approved our draft ordinance, and to proceed with finalizing it, we need to have a public hearing. So our request is to authorize us to publish notices and schedule the October 20th public hearing.
Okay. All right. That's what we're gonna be doing today, is just setting that date.
Correct.
Okay. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Kneisel. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Newman. Discussion.
What time is this going to be? Because we got public hearing already for county fees on the same day.
Yeah, we've done this before where we coincide. They'll just follow back to back.
Okay.
You hear that, Chris?
No.
We've worked with you, Chris, where, in the past, where we have the fee schedule hearing first, and then we'll move right into your hearing for this.
Thank you. And we've been talking with Jolene, and Chris is aware, and yes, we will follow in the recommendations of auditor and treasurer.
Okay. All right, any more discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Okay, next, Chris.
Next item is market price. Jeremy, would you present that?
I sure can.
Great.
This is just a yearly thing, kind of housekeeping here. Every year, the MPCA requires us to identify what the current market price is in the area for us. They have a resolution on file declaring what it is. Options are to approve the worksheet and resolution, or to not approve the worksheet and resolution, and the recommendation is to approve the worksheet and resolution.
Okay. Want to have any discussion before we do that, board members? If not, we'll motion.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Erickson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Kneisel. Discussion? If not, all's in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And are they staying in line for the next one? Solid Waste Committee?
So, Mr. Chair, I have a board action this morning to approve solid waste recycling drop-off center using the CARES Act funds. The background for this is in response to the current COVID-19 pandemic, the Todd County Solid Waste has explored a recycling drop-off site at the transfer station. Providing a recycling drop-off will reduce the amount of public entering solid waste facility and reduce the handling of recyclables by staff. This project has been reviewed by the Solid Waste Committee and is recommended to be brought forward for county board approval using CARES Act funds. The options are to approve the solid waste recycling drop-off center at a cost not to exceed $110,000 or to not approve, and the recommendation is to approve. And I would like to just update the board on the cost of this project. Jeremy did receive quotes for the recycling containers, and he did receive a quote that was a little bit less than what we had anticipated, and that cost is $63,730. So this cost of the project, we are anticipating it to not exceed $100,000. So there is the cost of the containers. There would be additional cost, $5,000 for a camera system and then an intercom system as well. And then along with that, there would be some dirt work that would be done, and we are hoping that Public Works can help us out with that piece.
Where would this be located?
Denise, I think I have a map within that folder.
Oh, within the folder.
The very first top one. So Chris and Jeremy, I'm just presenting to the board the aerial of the proposed recycling area. So if either of you want to speak to that.
Jeremy, can you speak to that?
Sure can. Obviously, with putting it here, we're trying to take into consideration if we would still get the bonding bill. This would tie in with the way the traffic flows. We originally were talking about putting it down by the gate, but with talking with our consultant, he was a little concerned when they would be exiting that it would be too close to the scale house and they'd have to cross the traffic to get it to exit. So we did decide to move it up, which actually I think is a better spot. Hopefully with it all there, we can make it work with the bonding bill. So that answers your questions.
Oh, yeah, give me some clarification how it affects the bonding bill, if you could.
Mr. Chair, Jeremy and Chris, I will speak to this just a little bit, and you can fill in where I leave out. When we looked at doing this recycling center, we had talked initially about putting it very close to the entrance and maybe having a two-gate system where, where it might be open after hours. And then the more that we talked about this, we said if it's down by that entrance, if the bonding bill happens to go through, that is the site of our new station. So we would not want to put it in that location. We would be moving it.
Okay, that's why I was wondering how it would affect that. So, okay, good, thank you. All right. And when would this be finished?
Mr. Chair, we would have to have this project done before the December 1st deadline. And Jeremy, I believe that you said the containers would take 8 weeks to receive?
Yes, I believe the quote said 6 to 8 weeks.
Okay, so we would anticipate this being done, I would say, could be close to the end of November.
Okay, good. All right. I don't think I had a motion on that yet, did I? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Kneisel, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Newman. Any more discussion? If not, all's in favor say aye.
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 Carried.
Thank you.
Health and Human Services, Jackie? Morning.
We can't hear anything out there,
Can't you?
No.
Sometimes I can't
Neither
either
of
here.
I know, right in front of you, and here. Doesn't that sound familiar? What? All right, good morning. I have the weekly COVID update that I want to present. As of September 14th, 2020, Todd County has 470 lab-confirmed cases and 2 COVID-related deaths. Cases no longer needing isolation is 450, so that would leave 20 positive cases in our county currently. So 96% of those have recovered. Again, that's calculated 14 days from their test date. 54.7% is male and 43.8% is female. Age range is again 1 month to 85.3 years. Our average case age range is 37.3. Total number of COVID tests performed in Todd County is 6,050 with an 8.4% positivity rate. Again, statewide lab confirmed positive cases is 84,949 and 1,922 for deaths. Total hospitalized as of yesterday, again, these are going back on yesterday's statewide reported numbers, is 6,954 and currently hospitalized is 233. 135 of those are in ICU. The age range for the state is 20 to 24, and then community exposure unknown. We continue to work closely with our schools around the case rates, and the dates between September 2nd and September 15th is 7.36%, and 7.36 with 18 positive cases in the county is what they're basing their number off of. That's what I have for my report.
Okay, questions? Yep.
Has there been any schools that reported any cases yet, or anything?
They've been busy. You know, they're going by symptoms and they're testing kids. We can't really report out if there's any positive kids, but there are some positive kids that are in our communities, so.
The uptick in that number within the county or whatever in the case rates, you know, that determines that magic number that we're going by. And I don't think you get information in regards to areas within the county or anything of that sort. Do you get information in regards to ages?
We do on our daily case rate, we do see what ages the positivity is of those who have test positive. So yes, we do get an age of the client.
And I think we can actually access that ourselves. I didn't dig into it further enough this morning just to see once, but being there was that uptick, I was just curious.
And again, we're seeing it within Todd County, our average age range is 37 to 3, and yeah, they kind of meander between the 1 month and 85 years, but.
Right. I know in some counties they got really affected by the colleges.
Yes.
Because they tested a bunch of colleges,
Yes.
and so those case rates went way up.
They did, because that's where they are currently living. For example, we have a daughter in Moorhead and Bemidji. If they would end up being positive, that would go on that county's case rate, even though their permanent address is Todd County. So, yeah, they're seeing those spikes, and those schools are being affected with having to adjust their plans, and they might as well just plan on homeschooling or being from home with those.
It makes it hard.
It
I mean,
really
for
does.
things like that, where it's like an influx of people coming into an area.
Right.
Well, the testing is positive, you said, but is it asymptomatic, or is that a part of your report or not?
Sometimes they will test, you know, again, if we can get the CDC and the MDH to agree on the recommendations and whether you should be tested or not, that would be helpful. But some families are testing. If they find a family member that is positive and does have known exposure, they will go in and just see what their positivity rate is, even within a home. So it's up to the family member and up to the ordering provider whether they'll allow that individual to be tested, based on a positive result in their home.
There isn't a report that I've seen anyways, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Jackie, but I don't think there's a report showing how many are asymptomatic or how many have symptoms.
They
You know,
just
of
say
what they
positive.
find is what, I think that was what he was kind of asking.
Yeah, well,
And
but they
I've
say
never
positive, so are they?
Yeah, I've never seen anything out there in all the research I've done showing a result of how many tested positive that are asymptomatic or not?
The state does have a new analytic that they are looking at and pulling some statistics from. So I'll look to see if that's on there. But yeah, I haven't seen anything out there that kind of shows us the positivity rate for asymptomatic people. The state is also doing a survey, and I sent some information to Steve and Lonnie this morning in the sheriff's office. It's called a Casper survey project, to where they are picking cities within our state to see how people have responded or are working with COVID. So they're looking at hot spots within the state, and they're sending people who will go out and survey the community, randomize, knock on doors, ask them questions, swab them or take their blood, if they're willing to do so, just to kind of test the positivity rate in hotspots within our state. So it'll be interesting. They're starting that next week to see how receptive our community members are around having random people from MDH knocking on their door, asking specific questions, and possibly even being willing to be swabbed or having blood taken. So
Jackie, do you know the communities that have been chosen, or?
I do. I don't have them with me though.
Oh,
I think there's like 5 communities: Mankato, Marshall, St. Cloud, Bemidji.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they are.
Fergus, maybe? Yeah, I find it very interesting because we all, and in one of the questions, have we let our local law enforcement know that we're gonna have people from MDH knocking on doors, asking for samples? No, that really wasn't.
That could turn into a scam too.
Thought of, so I did tell Steve and Lonnie I will keep them in the know if they happen to pick our region, but they're doing it, I think, by positivity rate in hotspot areas, so it'll be interesting to see how that's received in our communities.
My wife had an interesting question to me. She said they go up your nose quite a ways, or nasal, to get the test, but they also been telling us that your spit, your saliva contributes to the spread of the disease. So why do we have to go way up the nose when our saliva is supposed to be?
Yeah, around specimen collection, I'm not an expert
Okay.
in that, but
Well,
yeah.
she said that doesn't make sense, because if they can take a little particle of your spit or whatever, if you sneeze, can spread it, but yet they have to go way up in your nose to get it.
Your nasal cavity in order to obtain the specimen.
They are actually starting a saliva test, are they not?
They are. MDH is supporting that. That's something that, it's gonna be for specific populations as well, because we are not gonna get a good test specimen from a child
Yeah.
with that sputum project, so.
Going up a little
kit.
boy's, little baby's nose is gonna be pretty dramatic in the
Yeah.
papers.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just pick your brain a little bit more too, and you might have information that I don't catch out there or see out there, but in regards to like the case rates and stuff like that, I think I read this morning too that this weekend was the top 2 test rates that we've been at. The number of people tested, is that maybe correct, in the 20s, thousands range?
I see our numbers ticking up because I think our kids are back in school, but
Yeah, I
what
think- well,
they're
this is the
saying, I'm not.
Number of people tested throughout the state, or that were tested throughout the state. I think this weekend was a peak of what we have tested so far in those 2 days or
And
whatever.
I'm thinking it's around exposure with the schools being in session and colleges back being, I'm guessing. I don't know that for fact,
I
but.
think they're trying to continually increase that number too, are they not?
And they are. They're trying to
Yeah.
make testing more widely available, and now they're doing the sputum collection so that, it's going to offer another option for collection that they hadn't had before. But I don't know that our hospitals or clinics are utilizing that collection method. I think it's more MDH.
Just a little hard,
Schools
a little hard when you already have your base rate set for your schools, but you're continually upping the number of what you're trying to test. It just doesn't quite make sense to me, but there's a lot of things that don't make sense to me. So.
Just trying to keep up on it all and understand it all.
Okay, any more questions? If not, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jack.
Rick is out there.
Morning, Rick.
Morning, Rick.
So, Mr. Chair, we have a board action this morning to award the grants for the Small Business Relief Grant Program through the CARES Act CRF funding. For this is the Todd County Economic Development created a small business relief grant program for small businesses directly affected by the Minnesota Governor's Emergency Executive Orders 20-04 and -08. The program was designed to reimburse the costs of the business interruption caused by the required closures. Applications have been reviewed for eligibility by the Grants Committee and are recommended to be awarded. The options are to award the grants approved for Todd County Small Business Relief Grant Program or do not award, and the recommendation is to award. We did meet last Thursday afternoon, the Grants Committee did, and we did do a preliminary approval of 27 grants to be awarded. Rick had some additional work that he needed to do to verify a couple of things, so the grant amount did not get on the board action, but the total grant amount that will be awarded with your approval will be $129,299. And that is 27 grants that will be awarded. The smallest one was $1,745, and we had another one for $2,554, and the rest of them all met that $5,000 grant amount. So we were hoping for more response, but that's.
Did you say how many were applied and?
How many applied? 38.
So there's 27 out of 38 were awarded?
10 will be moved over to next round, and
Okay.
one was disqualified because of a state law.
Okay.
It was a good application, but it was a LLC that hadn't registered with the state for 2 years.
Oh. Okay. Do we have to approve this then? Is that what we do?
Yep, so the recommendation is to award the grants approved for Todd County Small Business Relief Program.
Okay, is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion,
Abstaining? Dave, I should be abstaining maybe.
well, if,
I have no idea.
yeah,
Wasn't in the process of it at all.
Commissioner Becker should abstain.
okay. Motion by Commissioner Erickson, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Kneisel. And for that reason, I'll take a roll call vote then, and she can abstain.
Commissioner Erickson?
Yes.
Commissioner Kneisel?
Yes.
Commissioner Newman?
Yes, I have not applied, so.
Commissioner Kircher?
No.
Commissioner Becker? Abstaining. Commissioner Kircher?
Yes. Okay,
Thank you.
all right, then, administration, Chris?
Want to get Chris? Mr. Chair, the next board action that I have is the county assessor reappointment. The background is Minnesota Statute 273.061 directs that all counties shall have a county assessor. The assessor shall be appointed by the Board of County Commissioners. Appointments shall be made for a term of 4 years, and reappointments are to be made 90 days prior to the expiration as defined. The appointment of Christopher Auden as county assessor is due to expire December 31st of 2020. The options are to approve reappointment of Christopher Auden as county assessor or do not approve, and the recommendation is to approve the reappointment of Christopher Auden, county assessor.
Okay, you've heard the board action, is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Erickson, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Kneisel. Discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
you. You have Sarah out there? Steve, Sarah?
Good morning, Commissioners. Today, we bring before you the tax holiday On August 8th, 2020, President Trump asked the Treasury Department to defer withholding of certain payroll taxes for the rest of 2020, starting September 1st, to be paid back in the first 4 months of 2021. And then he told the Treasury Department to figure it out. And the Treasury Department on August 28th issued some guidance that said the tax holiday is optional for employers to participate in. So what we bring forward today is, would you like to participate in the tax holiday? Or do not, number one, the option is do not implement the tax holiday. And number two is implement the tax holiday for employees who earn under $104,000 a year. The recommendation is to not implement the tax holiday.
Okay, you've heard the board action, and when this was discussed by, who, what was that committee when we?
It was the Personnel Committee.
Personnel discussed this. We did not support it because there was a payback period that we thought would be too much of a hardship, so, we do recommend that you not approve this. Or that we not become involved in it or whatever, so, number one.
Number one.
I'm used to number two saying number not. So, is there a motion?
So move to not implement this tax holidays to be option one.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Becker to not implement this tax holiday. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Kneisel. Discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I don't think a lot of people realize that they'd have to pay this back.
Our employees are smarter than your average employees. We've heard from quite a few who do not want to implement this.
Just point of discussion, was there some kind of talk or rumor in the fact that it could possibly be forgiven after the first?
Yep, and
I mean, I'm just saying, that's the negative side of,
that's definitely the
thing.
negative. Our employees would not participate in something that's forgiven. I don't know what Congress would do, obviously, but hopefully they would make an option that you could take it off your taxes.
something, maybe.
But I think we were informed at the committee level that most counties are not participating in this.
We haven't found a county that is participating yet.
I mean, it would be a great benefit, but if it's not forgiven,
Correct.
it's a burden later on, so. I don't think wouldn't want to participate in it. It's a risk you take, so.
Right, I think we're taking the right approach also.
Right. Okay, any more discussion? If not, all's in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
Okay, Mr. Chair, we have our regular standing discussion item for CARES Act. And today, I bring before you two board actions. The committees are working hard on trying to get their different projects pushed through to bring them to the board. And the first one that I have this morning is to, and this, yeah, it might be in there, Denise. The first one that I have is the CARES Act funds for an additional squad car. So this would be the sheriff's office. 14.3.
Thank you.
Okay. So the background for this is CARES Act funding is available to assist with funding expenditures related to public safety. A request has been made by the Public Safety Committee for funding of an additional marked squad car for transporting COVID-positive suspects. The squad car would be outfitted to ensure the cage between the deputy and the suspect is sealed to minimize the spread of COVID-19 and minimize the need for a deputy to quarantine. The Public Safety Committee recommends use of CARES Act funds for this expenditure. I did get the pricing information late yesterday, and the cost of this is $56,859.36, and this would be used from the CARES Act funds. An eligible cost worksheet was submitted also from the committee to do the justification and why it's necessary. And I can let Steve speak to any more that he'd like to say regarding this expense.
This would include everything, the squad car, to the radio that goes in at the cage. So it's fully outfitted. It's not just the price of the squad car. The price of the squad car starts, I believe, right at $38,000, and the rest is the equipment that would to go into it to make it a functional squad car.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I just have a question in regards to that, and it didn't really hit me before when I was reading through this. So is there a company actually engaging in outfitting vehicles like this that seal off that area? You know what I'm saying? I mean, is that being
Multiple
done?
different types of cages. Some of them have a mesh screen in them, so you can hear a little better. Others are just totally solid plexiglass. Then you can take and, where the cage meets the body frame, then you could put additional foam,
Sealant or stuff.
sealers in there to seal
Is
it off.
this one is gonna be solid or would be solid then in
Solid,
regards
yep.
to?
Correct.
Well, and then down beside the seats, they have plates that go by there, and then they can foam.
Metal plates, and we
They
can,
can foam that
Yep.
too, so it's completely enclosed.
correct.
I know the state of Minnesota was doing that with even their minivans. So their employees could travel together,
Yeah.
two in a car.
Yeah.
They were actually sealing the front seats from the back seats.
We'll see
Is
it
there
as best we can.
On this one, is there a microphone system, so if the person in the back can talk to you, or do you think you can hear through that glass?
A lot of our cars already have the solid plexiglass in it.
Okay,
You just tell them to speak up a little bit,
okay.
because they're still in
Well,
close
most of
proximity.
them are speaking up quite a bit.
Correct,
They aren't
yes.
sitting still.
Yelling and
kicking
screaming.
Okay. Then, any other questions? If not, a motion, please. I would need a motion on this, right? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Canizzo, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Erickson, any more discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, the next board action that I have is regarding our second round of small business grant relief. So we're going to talk through this a little bit. I do have a board action to approve the small business grant relief program through the CARES Act fund. And this is for the second round. So the background is the CARES Act CRF funds are available to provide economic support for both for-profit and nonprofit businesses affected by COVID-19 related business interruptions. Todd County Economic Development has developed an application for a second round of grants to support those businesses affected by the pandemic. The options are to approve the second round of Todd County Small Business Relief Grant Program and allocate $870,000 of CARES Act CRF funds to the program, or to not approve, and the recommendation is to approve. So Rick has just closed out, or we're just closing out the first round, and Rick has developed an application for both for-profit and nonprofit for the second round application. And maybe, Rick, you want to speak to this a little bit?
Through recommendations from, while talking to commissioners and other staff about the applications, we come up with a grant application for businesses and also one for nonprofits. And going through the applications, actually the people from the businesses that applied in round one, where there were quite a few that had large amounts that they could not claim. And they give the chance for those businesses in round one to apply for an additional up to $10,000 if they have it. We have a lot of businesses that were hurt in round one due to that. We probably take these on a, going through March 1st, from March 1st to September 30th on cost for mortgage payments, things like that, utilities, everything else they had to endure through this. And you notice that on the applications, they're slightly different on the nonprofit, but I'm open to any questions. Do you have copies in front of you, or?
They do not. It's
I have
just in
to
the packet.
bring copies. so-
Sure, sure.
Okay, I can give you copies quick.
So, Mr. Chair, while Rick is passing these out, I have them. While he's passing these out, This round of grants, we would have the application period start potentially next Monday, and it would run for a month. So we would close out on October 16th. So a little bit longer than what we had this past grant round open for, just to get a little more, hopefully a little more participation in it. This one isn't as restrictive as the last grant round that we did, so we're hoping that we'll have some good participation in this. And this is for a $10,000, up to $10,000 in grants.
Okay.
So the ones that didn't make the first round could reapply for the second round.
Yep, so those that were eligible in the first round can apply for the second round as well, and those that were deemed not eligible in that first round will be able to apply in the second round. And Rick, do you want to maybe just point out a little bit on the nonprofit side? Do you want to maybe
Sure.
just go over a little bit of that information?
On the nonprofit application, it's basically just the front page information. It is one page longer because we're looking for explanations from the nonprofits, you know, how they were affected. That's on page 1. Page 2 is basically funding information. They can receive up to $10,000, just like on the businesses. Eligible applicant grant funds will be considered on a need and community impact basis, including number of people served and COVID-19 organizational response. And nonprofits in this round would be that have a primary focus of job training, life skills learning, employment for adults with disabilities, food distribution to community members, service to veterans, business assistance, and services for senior citizens. And you can see there are 50 or less FTE employees also on both applications. Documents are pretty much the same as far as what's required. On the nonprofits, they're $990 instead of the business tax returns, determination letter, and a number of other things they would need on the application. Signature page on page 3, and then on page 4, it's eligible expenses, you know, what they spent, what they did. And you notice it does go for both applications, goes from March 1st to September. It should actually through September on that one. We'll change that rent mortgage payments between, March 1st and September 30th, it should say. So that will be on the one I see, that rent mortgage needs to be added to that one. But we did give them, looked at 7 months to help qualify for it. Would you like me to go through the business one too, a little bit, or do you want, any questions on the nonprofit one? And we kind of narrow the focus for the nonprofits to those who serve on those areas.
Okay. Any questions? Do we approve this then as a board or no?
Yep, this is one that you would approve
Just the nonprofit or both?
for both. Yep.
Okay.
It would actually, what you're approving is the second round of grants, which includes for-profit and nonprofit.
Okay. Any questions, commissioners? If not, we have a motion on this, please. Motion by Commissioner Kenizel, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Erickson, discussion. If not, all's in favor say aye.
You want a roll call like?
Roll call.
Should we do a roll call?
Do a roll call.
Okay,
Sure.
sorry. All right, we'll do a roll call. Because
Commissioner-
I don't think she has to abstain from the application process.
Mr. Chair, she abstained the first time, so I think if that's,
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
Because we're just approving the
Application.
the applications, not anything
I
else,
don't think you
so
have to abstain on this.
I don't think
It's
she
just
has
the
to abstain.
It's just the application.
Right.
Yeah,
approving the program to start.
Right, okay.
But if I applied, I'd abstain.
If you were, if you were going to apply, you would abstain from voting
Yep.
on this, which is the same as what we did last time.
Well, we could have a dilemma here.
We could.
It would be only, maybe only me voting. Two of us, maybe. So
I can't.
how would we do this?
Can we break it up and do the application separate?
This
Doesn't
board
make any
action is
difference.
just, this board action though really is just reading that you're granting to allocate $870,000 of CARES Act. We're
It's-
not breaking this board action down by
This board
applications.
action is the same as the first board action that we did to approve the first round. So we would be approving the second round of the program, so letting the program start and allocating the money.
Right.
And in the first round, anybody who could potentially apply abstained.
And what do we do if we don't have a majority?
Then we would probably have to table this and bring it back to the next meeting.
Would it be the same situation?
Anybody ever get the county attorney's opinion on this?
If you want to wait on this, we definitely can, and I can ask the county
Well, how
attorney.
does that slow down the process though, because of the timelines? Because we don't meet for another 2 weeks,
Right.
3.
Weeks.
That's why I said if we could, approve the applications, and the applications went out,
Just the process.
just the process.
We're doing the same thing that we did in the first round.
You abstained the first round?
I did
Randy,
abstain
you
the
did
first
too,
round.
didn't you?
Yep.
And Rod, you didn't.
And I haven't decided where I'm going yet with that, but does it really, I mean, the 2-week time period, Rick, it still keeps us well within our usable time period on,
It'll be a crunch for me, especially with November hitting and all my other things going on.
Mr. Chair, I mean, even if we did hold this until the October board meeting, we could still run it through November 6th. We could do that.
Okay.
And we have an entire month before we would have to get them awarded.
Okay.
It's a good program, but we don't want to cut it short by any means.
That's right.
Chair, I would suggest that we get a hold of the county attorney and ask his opinion yet today.
Yeah,
We got a closed session coming up, and then come back, bring this back after the closed session and vote on it. Just see what the county attorney would suggest,
yeah.
if you can get a hold of him.
I can do that. We did, excuse me, we did ask the same question of the county attorney when we did the first round. So I can ask again what we would do in this situation.
Well, I was trying to think of who else you could call to get some AMC
Guidance.
maybe, but something guidance as to this.
If there's not enough votes, does Denise, as auditor treasurer, vote?
I don't know.
Have other counties abstained or voted for it?
Sometimes if there's
Is
not,
that
then
who
it
will
would go
apply?
to the auditor treasurer to vote. But, and I don't know what the circumstances would be on
There is
that.
a statute that allows her to vote on,
Yeah.
on some things, but not, I don't think it involves this.
Mr. Chair, I think that had something to do
Do
with
with local
the,
Board of Equalization.
yep, it was the
Board
Board
of
of
Appeals.
Equalization
I've
where
never heard of
that,
it before.
Otherwise,
Right.
I've never seen that, so.
No,
just comment that the guidance from AMC was that you abstained. That was the guidance.
Well, we're in a dilemma then.
well, when it,
If there's no vote taken, does that mean it can move forward? Do you need board approval?
if three
I
of us
I think we
abstain,
take
would it-
applications, but I don't think we can give out
Zero
any
still
money until it's
pass?
board approval.
No, it's not a
You
majority.
have all the applications you want, but they may not be until you get board approval for the allocation of the money.
Can we exclude Robert's Rules of Order and move forward with a vote with just 2 of us?
I think I could do we could maybe just hold this until after the closed. I could do
Okay.
just some quick.
I thought maybe as a chair, if I just say we're going to go outside of Robert's Rules of Order and vote on this. You can do some research.
Sure.
Okay. Okay. So we'll just hold this on till after our closed session with get more info. Is there anything else on this?
Nope, that was it.
Okay.
And if you come up with any suggestions on the
Yeah.
applications, please let me know.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, next thing is a closed session. The Todd County Board of Commissioners will hold a closed session pursuant to Minnesota Statute 16, Section 13D.03 for the purpose of considering strategy for labor negotiations. Do I have a motion to close the meeting?
So move.
Motion by Commissioner Newman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Becker. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. The meeting is closed at 10:29.
For the second round of the grant program is that the commissioners could participate in voting on the program, on starting the program, and when it would come time to actually award the grants, at that time, commissioners who participated would abstain from voting on their individual grant.
So when it comes time to vote for the grants being awarded, we would vote on them individually, the county board members, if they apply.
That is correct.
Okay? Everyone understand that? So going forward, today we can vote on the process, and that is the grant application forms. So
Yep.
do I have a motion to approve that? I think I did, didn't I?
did.
So it was Kneisel and Erickson, right?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
And we left that open. So there is a motion and a second. Is there any more discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Carried, thank you.
Thank you.
So we'll move on then, standing reports. Denise?
I just have to report that absentee voting opens this Friday, the 18th, and we're currently processing over 13 absentee applications that have come via mail or electronic. So 1,300, excuse me, what did I say? Oh, yeah, 1,300.
Okay, is that more than normal?
Oh, yes, in a
Okay.
normal election year, if we get 1,000. So we're anticipating.
Can the news media hear that? Because I don't know if Denise, if they can hear you. Karen, can you hear that?
Are they even back on?
Maybe she's not. Okay, thank you. Okay, commissioners, anything? Guess we all have our Zoom meetings and,
I'm just gonna report from yesterday. Chris was nice enough to pull up the general meeting on the big screen up here, and so I came in here and sat and watched. It was a little more exciting than looking at a little one, but pretty uneventful, pretty hard to handle. I mean, it was a real experimental thing for everybody kind of going through the whole thing. So it was kind of interesting. There was a lot of talk in regards to the absentee ballots and stuff and the amount of them that they're expecting and whatnot. There was some words of concern because there's a number of companies sending out what appears to be absentee ballots that are not legit absentee ballots, and so they said it's going to be confusing for people because if they already did one,
We're
they get
seeing
another one and they think they have to send it in because for some reason they got another one.
We are already seeing double, triple, and we even had
Duplicates.
one person 4 times send one in.
Yep. And then
That's
they
putting
all,
more work on us and processing, and I think what they're seeing is all these interest groups are sending these out. Then they get it at home, and they're like, oh, I already sent this in, but this came from so-and-so, so I want to file this one, so I make sure and get it in. So
Correct.
it's
So it's
gonna
pretty
be a
interesting.
nightmare.
And am I correct, or maybe you can help me, Denise, on this one? I think I heard somewhere along in the news, is Minnesota going to do mass mailing besides?
Yes.
So that'll be another,
Secretary of State is
another
sending that out.
confusion point for
Another
everybody
one.
that's already
Yep.
sent them in.
Right, they are sending out to every registered voter that hasn't already made application.
That's what it was, every
Yes.
registered voter,
Yep.
yeah.
So, yeah, they will add to it for us.
Yep, so yeah, there's gonna be a lot of extra work there and whatnot. I think the one thing that we did catch going through there too that was really kind of interesting, and I think we caught it right, is that you can actually track your ballot Has anybody ever heard of that before? I mean, to see if it actually got processed? I never, ever knew that. I thought that was really interesting information. One little tidbit that I did get out of my
There you go.
thing
Is that
yesterday.
the
so-
mail-in ballot or your regular?
Any kind, the way I understand it,
Yeah, either one.
either.
Yep.
There is a link on the county website that is called Track My Ballot.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yep.
So there's my education for the day, so.
Good, thank
Well, at
you.
least you learned some.
Yep, that's exactly right.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I watched general government yesterday, and I was shocked that Crow Wing County was absentee ballots is at 40% already. So for Crow Wing County, they're, yeah.
I'm gonna connect with you a little bit on that because there was another statement made during that report when she was talking that certain townships do all mail-ins in
Yes.
Crow Wing.
Yeah.
Yes, they do.
Do you know why?
That was offered back in the late eighties, I believe.
City
that
of
people
Swanville
could
does it. It's all mail-in.
Switch to
Really?
mail ballot.
Okay.
Yep, so the whole precinct
Yeah,
is
that's
just
what it
sent
was
out by the auditor.
by precinct, yeah. That was kinda interesting
City of
too.
Swanville's been that way for years. It's just mail-in only, so.
And then the location of drop boxes
Yeah.
for the absentee ballots and what they're gonna be made out of, and it was really interesting.
How they're gonna be tended,
Yep.
I mean, or what because they talked about people only being able to bring 3. You could bring your own plus 2 others or something, but
Yeah.
if they're out in a spot where you do it 24 hours, how do you?
Or a drive-through,
I don't
drive-through
know.
voting.
There was a lot of questions in regards to it.
Is
on
that
how it
that
was gonna
vote and
work.
vote often?
Yeah.
Vote off.
Okay.
Thanks.
Anything else, commissioners? If not, I will entertain a motion to adjourn till the month of October.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Canizzo, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Becker. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, carried. We are adjourned till October. Thank you. In the work session, if anybody wants to take a quick
for our Nurse Family Partnership Program. And this morning, we're just going to give a brief update as requested with some local NFP data as we transition out of Nurse Family Partnership and move into our MESH, which was, again, maternal early childhood sustained home visiting. So our staff here in Todd County, 2 of them will be starting MESH training in October, and then we'll go from there. It's kind of a big transition process, but that process will be starting. So I will let Lisa go ahead and go through her nice PowerPoint.
All right. Thank you. Again, my name's Lisa. I've been doing the reflective supervision for the 4-County Collaborative in the Nurse Family Partnership Program for just under a year. I went to training as a nurse in June for the Nurse Family Partnership, but then transitioned into the part-time home visitor, part-time supervisor portion of it. So just going to give you a little update, summary as to kind of where we're at with Nurse Family Partnership before we transition into MESH. So I'm sure you're aware it's an evidence-based home visiting program. NFP is just for first-time mothers, and we like to enroll them before they are 28 weeks pregnant. That way we can build a relationship with them and help teach them prenatally to have a healthier pregnancy, and then we continue with them through the child's second birthday. We focus on the high-risk families, and we help reduce preterm birth, decrease tobacco use. We screen for mental health problems, intimate partner violence, and we also encourage them to try to improve their socioeconomic status, you know, by either continuing with school or job training, helping them find jobs, connect them with resources that would help in that. And I'm going to cover, you know, the data points from last January through the end of August, and partially due to all the changes that happened with new nurses and new supervisors last year. So we started in Morrison and Todd County in 2010. Cass and Wadena joined in 2013. We, in this last year and a half, have had 109 eligible referrals. So they met all the criteria with income and being, you know, less than 28 weeks gestation, and had certain high-risk factors. We get other referrals from clinics and WIC and such, but maybe they don't meet some of those criteria, so that's why we say 109 eligible. Our primary sources of referrals are the local WIC programs, the local obstetricians, family practice, hospitals. We do have some referrals from like child protection and just various different random referral sites, but those are the primary referral sites. So we did enroll as a team 56% of those eligible referrals. It is a voluntary program, so they obviously don't have to accept. The Minnesota rate is 47% and national is 36%, so we're pretty proud of the fact that we enrolled a much higher percentage than both Minnesota and national. Current caseloads as of August in Todd County was 15, with one full-time nurse trained in NFP, though she does have a lot of other duties and programs that she's in. Morrison has 2 part-time nurses that see patients, and we had a caseload of 17 between the 2 of us. Wadena is 1 part-time nurse with a caseload of 10, and Cass County is 1 part-time nurse with a caseload of 14. And those just explain some of the high risks that are in the clientele that we see. You can see 1.89% admit to using alcohol, 3.77% admit to drug use, tobacco use. I'm not going to read all the percentages to you, but a lot of them have other, you know, illnesses and factors that could affect their pregnancy. Obesity is a risk factor. A lot of people don't realize it. It really puts them at higher risk for C-sections and other complications, preeclampsia, that kind of thing, the high blood pressure during their pregnancy. Obviously, with no high school diploma, it's really hard for them to support a child on their own, so we do see a lot of our clients that have not finished high school or have not gone on to college. So that puts them at a higher risk for socioeconomic problems. A lot of mental health problems, and of course, if they are struggling themselves, it's really hard for them to take care of their baby. And 69.7% of our clients are unmarried. So again, that really puts them at a higher risk for socioeconomic problems.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
How do you deal with the mental health issues? What do you do?
So we did all get trained in a program called Mothers and Babies, and that is kind of an interim cognitive behavioral therapy that nurses are allowed to do, and it's kind of a bridge program where we kind of help them with some of those mental health issues while we're waiting to get them into a licensed psychological help type program, counseling of some sort. There is a shortage. I'm sure a lot of you are aware there's a very great shortage of mental health providers in the state. It's really hard for rural families to get that kind of help too. So we do make referrals whenever needed, whenever they're willing to take those referrals, and then we do this Mothers and Babies program in between.
Do we ever share this information with our legislators?
I met with, I gotta think of his name. He was from Duluth.
No. Stauber?
Yes, that's who it was. And yes, we did share that with him, and he was.
Well, I'd like our local legislators to see this because, you know, we've been fighting this for years about mental health, no funding, blah, 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 you know. And there's other issues here that rise to the surface that are a high percentage, and I think our legislators need to see this stuff. If they don't, they just think everything is going so nice, you know,
Right.
so.
Right.
And that with newborns is, to me, is serious, because are they taking care of the baby then if they have mental health issues? And
Correct.
so,
It's a big problem.
yeah.
Yep, yeah. Well, we'll find a way to
We'll
do
work
that.
on doing that, yep.
That'll be one of our goals for the year, so. So some of the challenges this team has had over the last year and a half, I can't say challenge, changes maybe, along with challenges. So Todd County trained a new nurse in April, and then I was trained in June, and then became supervisor in October. And then we got another new nurse in Morrison County in November. And each of those trainings with Nurse Family Partnership, we have to be sent out to Denver for that training, and it's very, very expensive. And then there's other ongoing trainings that we actually did not complete because they couldn't fit us into those trainings in Minnesota. And along with that, there's ongoing certifications that are a pretty substantial cost to the counties ongoing throughout the program, which is one of the reasons that we are really excited about the new mesh program, that it will eliminate some of the training costs. So, and then the Nurse Family Partnership transitioned over to a very, very unique, and I'll say unique in a very nice way, data collection system last fall. They piloted it across the country for about 2 years, and now we have had that rolled out for a full year, and there's a lot of kinks still in it. We had to do all of our data collection in that system as well as our local systems, so we were doing some double and sometimes even triple entry with that. But it was a requirement of their program for us to be in it, so we're also very excited to be eliminating that with the new program. And then Minnesota Department of Health also added a new data collection system in January. I believe that was a much smoother rollout, at least it was in Morrison County. A few added questions to our regular documentation, and with the new mesh program, there's going to be, I think, an additional 5 questions added to that, and it will eliminate the double entry, so it should free up a lot of our time with data collection, and we can spend more time on visiting clients. And then, of course, COVID hit in March. The majority of us were working from home, and Nurse Family Partnership recommended exclusive telehealth visits throughout this, and still are at this point. So that has been a challenge with not only clients not having good internet, but not having, data plans on their cell phones, or, their cell phones being shut off because they didn't pay the bill. They did have a program where they partnered with Verizon, and they supplied phones if the clients didn't have them. And we did make use of that for 3 clients, but then we did find out one of them, still the internet connection was so poor out at her home that we couldn't do the video visits with her, so we just ended up doing telephone visits with her. But that's been a little bit harder for both nurses and clients to have that real interpersonal engagement. They've been pretty good about it, both clients and nurses. It's been a transition, but our referrals have been down a little bit, I think, because so many of the clients weren't going into their own clinics to see their doctors, because they also went to the telehealth visits. So that's something we're going to work on, with just trying to bump up our outreach and see how we can re-engage some of those clients that have kind of been lost without the personal, in-person visits. We've been doing some yard visits now that the weather's a little nicer, and we've learned a few more of the guidelines and protocols around COVID. So that'll be a work in progress as fall progresses, and we might have to move indoors. We'll see how that goes. So some of the successes we've had, despite all of the challenges, we served 107 mothers and 78 children. We did 1,512 visits, including 462 telehealth visits, probably 50-50 with video versus telephone. So those video visits have been really fun because, you can kind of feel like you're right in there with the family, and a lot of them will get right down on the floor and play with their baby, and we get to watch. So it's the next best thing. But our breastfeeding initiation, which contributes to both the health of the mom and the baby, has been at 81.9%, which is phenomenal, we feel like. And some of the factors that affect that, of course, are C-section, medications that the mom's on, intimate partner violence, and then if the mom has had a history of trauma, that can sometimes affect breastfeeding success. But Cass and Wadena counties worked on a quality improvement project for their MICV grant, and so they shared those efforts with the entire team, even though we weren't all MICV. And so all nurses were trained in lactation support if they hadn't been previously. We increased conversations, made a deliberate attempt to discuss early on with clients their wishes for breastfeeding, and provided that continual education and support through all of the pregnancy and postpartum as needed. One of the things that they worked on was like a back to work plan with breastfeeding so that more moms would continue past their maternity leave. And then we developed a lot of resources, handouts and gift bags for clients that were breastfeeding and then for when they went back to work. So we do screen 100% of our children for developmental delay. We look at their communication, their gross motor skills, fine motor skills, problem-solving skills, and we do that on a very, very regular basis, 2 months, 4 months, 6 months, 8, so that we can ensure both, reassure the parents that the kids are right on track, but if we are finding that maybe they're a little off in something, we can make suggestions for improving that particular area, and if there's, maybe a couple tests in a row where they're not meeting the kind of the minimum guidelines, we can make referrals to the school districts where they can get that early intervention for speech therapy, physical therapy, anything like that, so that we can ensure that they are ready for kindergarten. And moms really enjoy that too. It's very reassuring to them to know that their baby's on track, or to have that really good discussion if maybe something isn't quite right. We do the mental health screenings on the mom. We do both for anxiety and depression, again, on a very, very regular basis, both prenatally and for that first year, and then make those referrals also if needed, and work on that Mothers and Babies program in between, so that we can do a lot of preventative work with the moms. And then intimate partner violence, we do screen moms for that whenever it is safe to do so. If the partner is in the home, we do not do it. If we suspect that, it's harder when we're doing the telephone and telehealth visits. If we suspect they might be there, or if we're not sure if they're there, we definitely do not do that, because that can put the mom in a more dangerous position. But whenever possible, we do have that conversation about just healthy relationships and what that looks like, and we try to model that through our relationship with mom. Subsequent pregnancies is one thing that we really talk about with our clients. We really, we talk about spacing out their children so that they're in a better place, either emotionally or socioeconomically. And with the clients that we did serve over the last year and a half, only one of our clients reported a subsequent pregnancy at 6 months. The local, so that's 0.9%. Minnesota is 2.2, and national average is 3.6. So again, we're pretty happy with that number. And then at 12 months, so when their first baby that we started with them was a year old, only 3 clients reported a second pregnancy. So again, we are lower than the Minnesota and national average. Our numbers of clients who are employed at 6 and 18 months is consistently higher than the state and national average. And at 24 months, when we graduate families from the program, typically 55.6% of our clients over the age of 18 are working. So we're hoping to get them in a good place so that
with
eventually.
This new program, we'll be able to continue with the other
Yep,
pregnancies.
it's very, very similar, and we'll be able to see moms that have any number of kids. It leaves a little bit more to the nurse's judgment as to how often to see them, but has very much the same qualities to the program. Yep. And of course, we had no clients that were reporting homelessness or being unable to feed their family. We could point them to the resources they needed. So our next steps, the NFP contract will end November 1st, and we've already kind of taken the steps to close that out. We'll be finalizing some of that in the next week or so. All nurses in the 4 counties, or I guess I'm not 100% sure on that, but I think most of the nurses in all 4 counties will train and transition to MESH over the next 6 months or so. It is also evidence-based, so the reimbursement rate will be the same from the insurance companies for our visits as it was with NFP. The criteria, though, like I said, is a little less restrictive. We'll be able to do moms that have more than 1 child. We don't just enroll them during pregnancy. We can enroll them up to 8 weeks post-discharge from the hospital. So if a mom had a premature baby and the baby was in the NICU for 3 months and then came home, we still can enroll her, 2 months after she's gotten home, when she kind of needs it most after that scary time. And she had all that support in the hospital, and now she's home with this brand new tiny baby. We can still enroll them, whereas with NFP, we would have only been able to do it during the pregnancy time. So that's a real benefit, I think, of this new program. But And like I said before, this new program is gonna rely a little bit more on the nurse's clinical judgment versus the very prescriptive rules that NFP had of how often we had to see somebody. You know, we can start with a family that's high risk and they can kind of really pull things together and utilize the resources we have, and maybe they don't need us as often. And so that, with MESH, that is very much taken into consideration. And, you know, if they're doing great, we can space out our visits, and that frees us up to see more clients that probably need us a little bit more immediately. But I guess we're gonna continue outreach to referral sites with the new models. That's again a plan in action, plan of action that we're working on how we're gonna do that. But mostly we'd just like to say thank you for your continued support in the work that we do.
Questions?
Anybody have questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is it all right if Jacob sits in also? Okay.
Thank you.
Are we doing the one water plan?
Yep.
Okay.
This is for the second item here.
Yep, okay.
So first item, just real briefly, is the update on the Long Prairie River One Watershed One Plan. We did get approved for the planning grant. So we've had one meeting so far with that. Likely next meeting, I'll be coming in with the memorandum of agreement to start the planning process with whatever counties are signing on, Douglas, Morrison, Todd, and then I think we'll get a little bit of participation out of Otter Tail. I don't believe Wadena is going to participate in the planning process, but we'll be coming back with that. The other piece was we need policy committee members to represent Todd County on that policy board. Deja and I talked briefly with Barb, I think last week after the soil and water meeting. Barb, I don't know if you have any comments beyond that, but it sounded like you might be interested in being the lead on that. But in addition, we need an alternate to represent Todd County on that board also.
And this really goes into effect in 2021?
As soon as we sign the grant agreement, we can start the planning process, so that'll probably be, I guess it's already September, so we might start in the latter part of this year with the planning process. But yeah, it'll be over the course of, the next 2 years or so that we'll go through this planning process.
Yeah, I guess I show interest in it because with our farm, we lie within the Long Prairie watershed, so.
And I don't know how it touches everybody else's districts, but, Barb, if you were willing to be the chair, that'd be excellent, but we still need to establish who the alternate would be to Barb when she's not able to attend those meetings. And I don't know what the process is for making that formal, but we can bring that back to the next meeting.
It would have to come in front of a commissioner meeting.
Yep, and so I can bring that back next meeting, with that memorandum of agreement also.
Could probably do it.
Sure, okay, we can plan for that, and then, so I'll make that an official board action for the next meeting, along with bringing that memorandum of agreement to start the planning process also, which that's already been developed. Chuck's taken a look at it and approved it and thinks it looks good, so that should be all squared away for the next meeting.
Good.
So, that was the first item, unless there's other questions related to that. Okay? Now, 2020 violation update. This is part of our violation policy that we went through for the first time last year. So I'll have some updates about those and then moving into the 2020 ones here. But the first point of discussion was thoughts on how to handle assessments in a year of COVID-19. We have had many people call and say, we can't make progress this year because of COVID-19. We know that some people probably do have a hardship related to that, and others maybe are using it as an excuse to not make progress. So we just have encouraged people to continue to make progress, contact our office, try to get these things moving forward, and we've had good success again this year. But again, is it the appropriate time for the county to be placing a $1,000 tax assessment on properties in tough times? Just looking for thoughts on how we should move forward with that first.
This letter B with an open collapsed tank, that would be a safety issue. What are we doing there?
So that one should have been assessed last year, and that was a failure on my part to get that to Denise, because in the October meeting, we just placed that assessment and didn't give them the opportunity to wait until the end of the year like the other ones. So when I certified those assessments to Denise, I had missed that one. So that one for sure will get a $1,000 assessment in 2020 because I missed it last year. So that one needs to be addressed yet. Okay. And I guess on the other ones, the A, the Elliott one, and then F, the Joseph Wasaki, those are the two that were assessed last year that did get resolved over the course of the past 12 months, I guess. The other three, B is going to be assessed the initial $1,000. And then the James Stemmig, there's been no contact, no progress. So that one, I'm assuming you guys would want to move forward, unless you choose to not move forward with any assessments on this year because of COVID-19, but that one would be due for the $2,000 assessment for the second year of failure to resolve the violation. D, same, we haven't had any contact with them over the past year. And then E, Tim, we have tried to contact him, and he sent an email semi-recently. We can provide that information to you, but basically he was accusing me of not doing my job and that he was going to file a lawsuit against me for, I can't remember what his term was, but I emailed him back, made Chuck aware, provided all the details of us knocking on his door, calling him, leaving voicemails, and I had dates for all that, and then after providing that information to him, we have not heard a single response from him.
Or his lawyer?
What's that?
Or his lawyer?
No, we never heard a lawyer ever. It's just an email from.
We go back to Stephen Daniel Owen. Is that one of the ones that we just did on the taxes, Mobile?
Yep. Yeah, yep. All of these would have been the $1,000 tax penalty.
No, I mean, they have a mobile home
That
on
was
there.
us, that was me. So,
Huh?
yeah, that Daniel is part of that. We had mobile homes that we were going to.
Oh, he wasn't here, that's right, I'm sorry, I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, we
Sure.
talked about him earlier, not paying his,
Okay.
personal property taxes.
Mhm.
So, okay.
Would this picture here, that be the trailer house we're talking about, or?
I don't know, I'm not an assessor, I don't go out there, sorry.
I don't know if it's a trailer house,
I
looks.
seen that there too.
Going down, I guess I don't have any photos for those 6 there because they were presented last year. I don't know if there's any more questions on those of how you want to move forward, but essentially B, C, D, and E would ultimately be up for a $2,000 tax assessment for their second year of failure to resolve the violation. Again, I don't know what the wishes of the board is of if you want to just move forward, because then we can go on to part 3 here and look at the 10 items that are up for the initial assessment.
Those are items that if you're gonna place a special, you'll have to bring it back to a board with a board.
Yes,
document.
correct. Yep, today is just providing the update, the information, allow you to review it if you have questions over the course of the next couple weeks, but there will be an official board action on that first meeting in September if you guys wish to do so. October, yes. Sorry. We want to run through the 10 I have here then?
Yeah.
Okay. First one, it's actually 2 properties adjoining, but Jack McCoy's the owner. This one, again, is a longstanding violation for public nuisance and also not abiding by the conditions of a conditional use permit. So you can see the section of the ordinance he's in violation of, but we have had 0 contact with Jack. We've sent the series of 3 letters and never had a single response from him. You can see some of the photos there. This is in the city of Pillsbury on the corner there. Again, this would be one that I think the appropriate action would be to, if we want to move forward with assessments for this year, which I think is appropriate on ones like this, it'd be a $1,000 tax assessment, and then we could process them the same as last year, where from
Chris,
that
or,
first.
Adam, when were these pictures taken?
These pictures, these here were in 2018.
Because this stuff is gone now.
That house is still there.
The house is still there. I just
Yep.
drove by the other day. The bricks.
Sure.
The bricks are gone. And I believe he's cleaned up the yard a little bit.
So we can go get updated photos. We did
I would.
receive I think I put that in here, a letter or a resolution from the township
Yeah.
that they wanted us to pursue
Yeah.
action
They've been
against this
talking
one
to me
too,
about
so.
it. They're getting
Yep.
all kinds of complaints.
So, that's where we're at with that particular one, unless there's other questions, but yeah, we'll probably do for sure site visits on these 10 here, make sure of progress and see where they're at and present that information. Going on to the next one, this is August Langsath, public nuisance. This one goes back, that the initial violation was in 2000. And it's just something that's never had much action on it or never been cleaned up. We did some site visits in 2019 and 20, and the violation is still there. So I think, again, this would be one that would be appropriate to move forward with the assessment. There's no one living on the site as far as we know, and there's been no contact from the landowner and no progress being made. Next one, Georgianne and David Larson, another public nuisance. You can see in some of the images, that's a pictometry image from 2020. You can see the amount of stuff out there. We have had contact with this landowner, but his contact was to state that he didn't think that there was very much trash on the site and it wasn't that bad, and that he also had a broken leg, so he couldn't do any cleanup this year. And that's the amount of contact we have had with them, but they have also received the 3 violation letters to notify them of the process. Any questions on that one? Next, Jeff and Christine Kuhlman. I'm sure you're familiar with this one, right off of 71. He has put a fence up recently for a visual barrier. There's definitely some cleanup that should be done yet. There's those old mobile homes that shouldn't be there, and then some other stuff in the back. So we really can't issue any land use permits to him if the violation still exists to start the work on the old dance hall there. But he has had contact with our office, and he's made some progress. The letter he sent in just stated that with COVID-19, he's been doing a lot of trucking, been on the road, and hasn't had an opportunity to do any cleanup. And he had intentions of getting this all resolved before snowfall, and with that, he has made some progress since that letter was received. So we intend to, again, with this one, probably do a site visit and document what type of progress is being made. But this is, again, I know we've talked about this one last year, and that it's just really long-standing, kind of a nasty violation that's been lingering out there. Any questions on that one? Okay, next one is William and Marcia Owen. This is a public nuisance one, and too many trailer homes on a single parcel in shoreline zoning. I believe this one is. This one's another long-standing one that goes back to, I believe, 1999. The owners did contact our office back in March. There's really been no improvements made, but the contact was them just demanding that they be allowed more time to get their property cleaned up. It's a hard argument to make when it's been out there and they've been aware that a violation exists for many, many years. You can see, I think there's some photos on that next page related to this one too. Any questions there? Okay, moving on to Harold Harcum. This one's in commercial zoning. This is accumulation of old vehicles and other junk items. This goes back to 2011. There was follow-up done in 2012, and the notes indicated that there was really no improvement, and it's probably gotten worse at that time. Site review was done last year and determined that there's still a public nuisance violation on that site. And I don't believe that he has had any contact with our office either. But you can see some of the photos there, some of the stuff out there, again, a long-standing one. There's no questions there. Moving on to Marianne Gerving. I was hoping that David Detterman was going to be here to talk about this one with me today. They've been working on this one on the Health and Human Services side for public health issues with rats and garbage laying around. This one initially came to us from Steve, actually. So this one's kind of a high priority that has many departments working on it. There's been some issues lately, evidently, with people breaking into the house and breaking windows and destroying property out there that I have heard. So this was one where, not Marianne, but I think his name is Steve Gerving, contacted us and said they had plans of coming up. They live in Florida. They had plans of coming up, but COVID-19 restricted them from traveling. And then they stated they'd worked with David and stated they had somebody lined up to start working on the cleanup, and that's clearly never happened. There's been no progress. Seems to be getting worse with people just helping themselves to the property. Yeah, this one kind of is a high priority, being that it gets into that public health piece also. And there's clear that there's been no intention to start to clean it up. Steve also said, Steve Gerving, when I spoke with him, that he hasn't even been to the property in many, many years. So I emailed him a bunch of pictures of it and then never heard a response from him after that.
Property taxes up to date on that one?
Yeah, we looked at some of those. Do you remember, Jacob, if that one was up to date? Okay. Some of them were and some weren't when we were looking at this. Any questions on that one? Next, Wayne and Belinda Prather. Multiple homes on a single parcel without permitting, and then some items that would probably constitute a public nuisance. Back in 2014, an application was received for a structure addition, and then in the review process, there was a bunch of other homes out there, 3 of them that were discovered. They've had some contact with us. They understood the need to resolve the violations. But then when we started sending the official letters this year, there's been no contact with our office to get this resolved. And the last one here, Gerald and Patricia Nelson. This is the non-compliant septic system. It's actually discharging into the ditch, surfacing. They have had lots of contact with our office. They intend to tear the house down and abandon the system, but it sounds like either Gerald or Patricia's mom still lives in the home and they don't know which direction they wanted to go. So we're trying to figure out a way to help them out, but there's just really not a good way. When a septic system is discharging, it's something that needs to be corrected. And in order to treat everybody fairly and keep them on the same path, we tried to encourage them to get it updated or abandon it. And so far, it sounds like they're still just hanging on, trying to figure out which direction they want to go with it. This is one of those that I think the assessment could be placed and then allow them till the end of the year to try to make that decision and hopefully get it abandoned. Either way, the system that's there probably needs to be abandoned and completely replaced, or abandoned and tear the house down.
Adam, do we still have money available for septic systems upgrades?
Yep, we do have grant dollars for those that qualify through low income requirements. We're actually out of money for this year, but we're getting like $21,000 for next year for upgrades, which might do like 4 systems. But then we also have that county tax loan money at 1.5% interest. That's been gaining some steam with that too. So yep, that's been helpful. And then after that, just quick updates. Our plan for next year is to not dive headfirst into another pile of new violations. Over the course of the last 2 years, we've made a lot of good progress, and we don't want to see those that we made progress on slip away. So our plan is to really continue to work with those landowners, get those hopefully to a full place of resolution, and if they don't, those that we've already started to work on over the past 2 years would come before you guys for potential assessment. We don't want to just keep going, add more to the list and without getting those higher ranking ones fully addressed. So our plan for next year is to not dial up a whole bunch more, but to continue to work on the ones that we have over the past 2 years. And then the last item was just planting a seed here, potentially creating some sort, or using these assessment dollars or some sort of pot of money to create a property cleanup, kind of similar to our septic loan, where we could provide money through the county and then have them pay that back on their property taxes. So then instead of just having a $1,000 assessment out there, they would be paying it off when the property is actually cleaned up. It's something that we've been tossing around some ideas in our office about how to make that work, but just wanted to plant a seed in your guys' mind to see if that's something you guys would be interested or start thinking about for the future. a lot of times I think some of these people are just in over their heads and don't know what to do or how to clean it up, and maybe don't have the funds to, and this would be a good avenue to potentially assist them, but also still pay it back to the county so we can continue to use those funds to clean up other properties. Any questions, thoughts? If not, we'll create board actions for these 5 based on what we see over the next couple weeks for potential assessment, but then also those 4 from 2019 that will be assessed the $2,000 in this year. And then the board action will look similar to last year, how we allowed to the end of the year for them to clean it up, and then we could potentially remove that assessment at that time. Unless there's any other thoughts, that will be our plan. Enough? All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Adam. Okay. No other business. We'll conclude the work session.